kind of countdown. And we're live. Welcome, Ned.
Hello.
Hey, everybody. I am Nate, and that was Ned. He waves a lot and wears a hat. And this week we are talking about all kinds of stuff. Much happier than last week because it's a lot of stuff that's cool rather than a lot of stuff that's really irritating. So if you're looking for an irritating podcast, go back to last week because last week was good. Oh, my. Okay, there we go. So, Ned, what do you want to talk about?
Well, we got a bunch of stuff. We got a whole bunch of add-ons people ask us to talk about. We got some really cool stuff with a big name. I don't know if we want to start out big.
Yeah, we may as well. Yeah. No reason to have people waiting while we prattle on about stuff, or we could not.
we could. It's like putting the milk at the back of the store because everyone goes to the store for milk, so you have to wait all the way to the end.
That's true. Okay. Okay, so let's start out. Let's start out with not really our sponsor because we don't have one, but instead, the shirt that is being sponsored by our team. So this last week we put together a shirt called the Kodi Protest shirt, which Piers, who's one of the team members, developed. And it's, I don't know, man. I think it might be one of the coolest shirts that we've had in a little while.
Yeah, I like it. I bought 3 of them.
Yeah, I like it a lot. There's it's blue, let's see, blue, red, and black. But frankly, I really like the red. It's also one of the, since, shoot, what was that? The last XBMC shirt ever. This is the fastest uptake, I think, of any shirt we've sold since then. It's 183 after like 2 days, which is pretty. Oh, wow. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah, it was only like 100, like when I went to bed last night, or 130, I think.
Yeah, so people evidently are digging this shirt, which I'm good with. I like it a lot. The one downside, I'm a larger boy, as you may or may not know. And it looks like this shirt only goes a XXX, which I think is good enough for most people. But for your larger guys out there, maybe you could just give it as a gift to somebody else.
Now, is that did we ever find out if Fab what is it called? Fab what's our shirt guy?
Yeah, Fabrily.
That's they're what, European based? So is that European shirt size or is that US shirt size?
Oh, I'm not really sure. There is a thing that explains sizing details, but I don't totally know. And actually, that's something worth bringing up to people watching. We've switched over. We've been going with Teespring this whole time, and we've switched over to Fabrily for 2 very good reasons, both of them having to do with people in Europe. Basically, Teespring had a real problem shipping out of America to Europe. It was very expensive, like $10 at least for shipping. Fabrily is actually a subsidiary of Teespring based in the UK, and they have the ability to ship to everywhere in Europe and everywhere in the US for like $5 or something. So it was a lot cheaper. And the shirts themselves, we've actually managed to make a little bit cheaper too. Like usually we do shirts for $20, but I think partly because we only used one color, we were able to get it down to $15 in the US and I'm going to say $18, I think, in Europe, where we have to deal with VAT. I don't think there's any way to get around that issue. So still, that's significantly cheaper than it's been before. So we're pretty pumped about it. So you can find that on the Kodi.tv website. So you should definitely check it out. They're pretty cool.
And the funny thing about that though is we've been really happy with Teespring and everything. It was just a shipping thing, and then we find out that Fabrily is now owned by Teespring.
Yeah, so, it was the funny part. We felt very guilty because Teespring has been really pretty awesome with us. Like at Scale this year, they actually gave us 5 free shirts so we could wear them, and it was awesome. It was really cool. so we were feeling guilty going over to Fabrily, even though it was really, I mean, it kind of made sense, and so many of our users are from Europe. But when it turned out that Teespring owned Fabrily, it was like, well, there goes the guilt.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was great. So anyway, yeah, cool T-shirt. You should get it. If you don't, then obviously you hate open source, and you should.
Puppies. You hate puppies too.
Yeah, you should go murder some puppies or kittens. No, that's a joke, right? They know that's a joke, don't they?
Dude, hopefully.
Okay. All right. With that said, let's go on to the cool. Let's go on to the cool thing. I feel like that was enough. Enough holding off on it. Yeah. So here, I'll share this page now. So this week we're pumped to say that Alienware has released what they're calling the Hivemind, which the Alienware Alpha, if you're not familiar with it, is sort of like a PC console. It was originally it was designed to be one of the first Steam machines, you know, the Valve had been putting out. But Valve took a very, very long time for Valve OS, or SteamOS. Valve took a very long time for SteamOS to come out. Alienware had already developed all the hardware for this Alienware Alpha, and they were looking for some way to sell it. And so here's sort of a little bit of the background. One of their project managers actually came to us and said what their plan was, which was to take Kodi, or XBMC was what it was at the time, and basically reskin it, add a bunch of add-ons to it, and then develop a lot of their own software, and mix the two together to merge and create this thing that would run on Windows, so it can play all of your Windows PC games. And oops, there we go. It ran on Windows, but it was an experience that was an awful lot like running in an embedded console environment. So you may have heard a couple months ago that they'd introduced it, and the first UI was kind of very basic and not very user friendly. This version, the Hivemind version, is far more advanced than that original version. And as far as I can tell, I mean, to some extent, it kind of just looks like, and you can correct me if you think otherwise, Ned, but it kind of just looks like a really nice games-oriented version of Confluence, kind of.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. So if you're familiar with Kodi at all, and if you've used it, then this shouldn't be that big a jump. But it's really cool because they're basically able to use Kodi to launch and install and do all of the things you can do with your gaming PC right now, but you need to use a mouse. You can do it all now with your controller. And we think it's pretty cool. Or at least I think it's pretty cool.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And it really shows you the versatility of open source software. So like we focus on creating a remote control friendly interface, which obviously includes video game controllers. So when they needed an interface that looked good on the TV and worked well with the controller, the fact that they could come to us and use that's just really cool. Like that's something I wouldn't have really imagined a company like Dell, Alienware to do. It's just like, wow, really? Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I mean, it makes sense a little bit from a historical perspective, just because, you know, Kodi's, or let's back up. XBMC was originally, a software designed to be able to launch games from a UI. It was, you know, you launched all your Xbox games with it. At least I did. And it was awesome because I hope there wasn't any DRM on this because I'm going to make an admission and hopefully it doesn't get me in trouble. Back when I had my Xbox, one of the things I would do is I'd go to GameStop or whatever the thing was back in those days, and I'd buy the used old Xbox games. I'd bring them home, rip them, and then I keep them because I feel guilty about this kind of thing. But then I'd rip them onto the hard drive on my Xbox, and I would launch them that way. And it would be cool because it would show all of the information, and there'd be nice artwork and everything. And we haven't, since we shifted over to PC, we haven't really had that kind of integrated experience since then.
No, yeah.
And that's, it feels like something we kind of lost in the transition. It's sort of, we sort of went from being a media center group that did all kinds of media center stuff and turned into a media center group that really focused mostly on videos, which is fine, but you know, it sucks that we lost that. So this is, I don't know, I think this is really cool. So I guess I'll follow that up since I just installed it. Do you think I should talk about this, Ned?
What's that?
Retroplayer.
Did you get it to work?
I got it to work.
Oh, then definitely.
Okay. So this week, the main developer of Retroplayer is a guy named Garrett. We all call him Garbear, though. And what Retroplayer is a player. How to explain it? So with your video player, Kodi does not care whether you have an MP4 video or a MKV video, or whether it's H.264 or DivX, AVI, whatever. You just throw it all at Kodi and it just plays it, right? So the idea behind Retroplayer is that it shouldn't matter what kind of game you have that you want to emulate. It should just be able to play it. So what Garrett's done, he actually used a software called RetroArch, and I'm not sure if they developed or if he did the work, but he converted it into something called libretro, which you can basically plug in anywhere, and he made it so that it would work inside of Kodi itself. So let me see if I can share this. All right, do you see that, Ned? Does that work?
Oh, there it is. Yeah.
Okay. So I just installed this today, and it's extremely alpha. I've gotten it to crash like 25 times just in the last like half hour before we started this program. But as you notice, there's a new thing called games, and right now there's not much there. There's not a library system for this or anything. It just is a place where you can list your files. So I went ahead and grabbed a bunch of games that I know I've owned in the past because I played them. And if you launch them right away, it absolutely doesn't work at the moment. What you have to do is you go to System, then Games, which is also new. And then you have to input your game controller configuration. So you go to that, and then the default one is based off of the Xbox 360 controller. But first you input that, and that lets you control it lets you control Kodi. Then you input the buttons for each of the things that you're trying to emulate. So I inputted the controls for the NAS. I would show you what that looks like, but when I do, it causes a crash that I can't get out of without restarting. So we won't worry about that for now. The good news is once it's restarted, the input information stays, so you can go ahead and use it. So then you go back to games, you open a ROM. Let's see, I did Double Dragon. Then you launch it with Nestopia, and you can manage your emulators. Oh, and it probably need to this way.
Yeah, and each emulator is like a kind of like a binary add-on. And they get loaded and unloaded dynamically. So it's not like if you ever think, oh no, this is loading up my install, like it doesn't. Like when you're not running a game, the emulators aren't loaded. It's all modular and automatic.
Yep. Okay, it crashed. Yeah, I'll tell you what, man. This is the most alpha software. It's fantastic when it works, but when it doesn't work hard. I'll try to launch it one more time just to see if it works. Oh shoot, Okay, so it worked that time. Yeah, so there it is. So what's so cool about this is you can still control it using your controls, and the only things that are taken away are your controls over for this particular platform. So like my controls to stop the video is the B button, but I'm not using that for the system, so I don't have to worry about it. So I went to this, and then I select that one, and here I am playing the game from directly within Kodi. Just to show you again. How do I show you again? Oh yeah, so there it is in Kodi running. This is crazy, and there I am controlling it, and there are some guys, and I'm going to punch them.
Woohoo.
And now I'm going to stop the video I'm going to stop the game.
Okay, show them how you rewind it.
I can't, because I tried to stop the game, and now it froze again. So,
but yeah, the player controls on the screen are just for show. They actually will rewind the state of emulation.
Yes, that's true.
As if it were a video, which is one of the features of RetroArch. So it's a perfect fit for Kodi.
Yeah, and it's amazing how it works. It wouldn't, for that particular game, it doesn't make a ton of sense. But what's really, it makes you super overpowered for certain games. Like a few years back at DevCon, we had a running setup going with Super Mario World. And this kid, because we had a meetup, so this family showed up and they had their kid there. He was playing Super Mario World, and every time he died, he just rewound by 3 seconds so he wouldn't die. Mm-hmm. It was, I don't know. I can't decide if that would be an awesome way to play Super Mario World, or if it would just be so boring because you'd be so overpowered all the time. I don't know. It's definitely a really cool thing, and I think it'll be interesting to see how people use it over time. So gaming right now is all of a sudden all the rage, and we have our first comments. The first comment was "You're the best." The second comment is, first one to comment, haha, which is, as a rule, we all know the first person to comment can't actually be the one to say first to comment. And the third one was, it looks like we have an actual question. I was hoping for info on getting Netflix to work with Kodi. Well, all right, we can answer that one real quick. And then after that, let's hop back into talking about add-ons. So first of all, Kodi and Netflix don't really work together exactly. Basically, in every situation, if you want to control Netflix, you have to pop out of Kodi and jump into a Netflix environment. There are kind of two ways at this point that I kind of recommend people do it. And Ned, you're welcome to interrupt me and tell me that this is dumb, but this is the way I suggest doing it. You can use Netflix. What is it called? Netflix BMC. Which it works inside of Kodi, and then you launch the movie, and it opens a window, a window on like Chrome or Firefox or something, which then plays the video that way. The controls for that are pretty lame and not very helpful, and I don't know. I don't personally do it that way.
Yeah, because you're basically stuck with the controls that you would have in a web browser. Like you can usually pause, like by if you map your normal remote for Kodi to like the space bar, which will do like your play pause, then it switches over to Netflix. You can play pause, but it's like it's very basic, and none of the other controls work. That's just the limitation of using it in a web browser. A web browser wasn't designed to be, or their web interface wasn't designed to be used in with a remote control.
Yeah, that's right. So my suggestion is you just don't even bother. Maybe at some point in the future we'll figure it out and we'll have a nice integration. But at the moment, frankly, my suggestion is just to get some Android device that has a nice controller input, whether that's the Android TV or yeah, I mean, a device with Android TV on it, or I mean, you can even still use Amazon Fire stuff. I mean, we're not in the App Store, but that doesn't stop you from side loading.
Yeah.
And in both situations, you'll have actual nice controller input, and basically you just hop back and forth between Kodi and those other services. And that's frankly. Go ahead.
There are you can get Netflix on like any Android device, but the Netflix client for normal Android devices is kind of weird. It's almost remote control friendly, but certain parts, like if you want to select a specific episode out of a season, it's anticipating a touch instead of a remote control. So you have to get like a little air mouse or something. And the most frustrating thing, though, is that Netflix will not go full resolution on certain devices. Like they have to be certified or something like that. So you almost, I don't even think you get up to like 720. I think they cap it below that. And it's, I don't know why, but the good thing is though, with anything that'll run Android TV, which is a specific kind of variation of Android, not just TVs that run Android, but Android TV, any of those devices like the Nexus Player and NVIDIA Shield TV will run the full Netflix client that works with the remote and is full resolution.
Right. And it's like amazing resolution. Like with the NVIDIA Shield Android TV, you can actually get 4K out of that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I don't have a 4K TV, so I mean, it doesn't help me. But other people can. And if you are really friendly and can convince store owners to let you use their TVs, then that works too. That was
you
really
just keep doing that, and not even bring like a camera or anything. Like, are you recording this? Oh yeah. I'm not just watching a TV or movie. I'm just have this tripod here. Just no. There's a camera in the tripod. Yeah. But yeah, so yeah, there are a lot of cool ways to do that. At this point, using Kodi to do it is probably not the best way. All right, so that's our Q&A portion of the episode. If I refresh and I see more questions, maybe I'll bring them up. But now let's talk about add-ons, because there are a bunch that have come out recently that are really cool that I want to talk about. Yes.
Here, I have 3 set up. If there are more that you can think of, I'll add them. But these are the ones that you brought up the other day, and I thought they were awesome. So let's skip this one for now because it's not that exciting except for people doing debug stuff. So this one's probably the coolest one in my opinion. I think we've already featured something called Lazy TV. This is sort of like the next-gen version of that. Lazy TV still works, and the way it works is you watch a show, and then once the show is over, Lazy TV suggests, do you want to watch the next show in the list or episode or in season or whatever. This add-on, this add-on works a little bit more like a Netflix suggestion service, where while the show's still going, but you're near the end, it'll pop up and say, do you want to watch the next show? Which is really neat.
Yeah, before the show actually ends, so you're watching credits, and it'll pop up. Yeah, Netflix style.
Yeah, Netflix style.
The only bad thing with it is it only works in sequence to the show you're watching. So if you're watching an episode of Family Guy, it'll show you the next episode of Family Guy that's available. It won't do like the next episode on a playlist, or it won't shuffle. So it's got limitations, but a lot of people just, if you just need to marathon or what is it called, binge watch something, it's perfect.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm sure there are people who want to watch specific things in order, but I'm guessing for the most part, people are more than happy to just binge through a season. If they need this service in the first place, it's probably going to be for a season, not necessarily for a playlist. And I mean, remember, this is all open source stuff. If a playlist really does become an issue, somebody will just add that ability, right?
Oh yeah.
That's my
I'm not sure if I've done it yet, but I was going to ask the guy if he could do that.
See, there you go. Okay, so next up is sleep timer, which is I think it's one of those requested features that we often get, but nobody ever actually bothers taking the time to do. So I'll let you run through explaining this one. I haven't bothered using it.
It's kind of like we have a sleep timer in Kodi that you can manually set, similar to like a TV, where you specifically set it and say in 30 minutes turn off. But this is a little bit different. It's a little bit smarter. It can be set for different types of stuff you're doing, different behaviors, and it can do it automatically. Like you can have it. So if because the big thing is normally your screensaver and stuff like that will take over when your video ends. But if you're watching live TV, video doesn't end. It just keeps going. It's live TV. It's, you're getting it off of your antenna or your cable card or however you're getting it. So the idea with this is that if someone, it's kind of like a dead man switch, and there's different configuration options. I haven't looked at all of them, but there's different configuration options to kind of select its behavior so that it works with however you like to fall asleep to the TV, which is kind of the big thing. And it basically, it lets you, it can either, I think it'll either stop the video or initiate sleep, or I'm not sure. I have to look at the settings again, but basically, it's a lot of people that's been asking for this. Surprisingly, a lot of people fall asleep with the TV on, and don't like having it just run on. They want to save power or whatever, or just be able to come to, when they come back into the interface, it's a nice fresh interface or whatever.
Right.
So it's one of those little annoyance fixers, and it's one of the great things about add-ons is if you have an annoyance with Kodi, it's probably an add-on for it.
Yeah, the fact that scripts can actually directly control things in Kodi, it's pretty cool. It's last week we talked about how if you don't trust the source, then there's the potential for real harm. That's kind of why, because you can do scripts like this where, so long as the source is trusted, it can do really cool things like sleep your PC. But if the source isn't trusted, it can do really awful things like delete all your content. But in this case, it's a pretty cool thing it can do. The final thing is a little bit different. Back to sharing here, and it's the log viewer for Kodi, which lets you actually look at the log. I haven't installed this one either. Have you installed this one?
Yes, but I just realized I installed it on the Windows computer, and I'm talking through the MacBook here.
All right. Well, let me see. Let's see. I could probably install it.
It's fairly straightforward, though. It's just a plain, basic text viewer, and especially if you're running on, say, like OpenELEC or some kind of setup where you just don't want to switch over to the desktop and you just need to peek at that log real quick, maybe see a key press or see what an error said or you missed something. You can pop in there without having to switch over to a desktop or SSH in, and a quick little tool.
Oh, show log. Oh, sure enough. Okay, here, yeah. Let me. I have it installed, so I'll switch over to share that one.
Just one thing I did find out, though, is if you have a large log, which is fairly normal if you've been running your system for like a week without restarting it, which hopefully happens, it's not crashing or anything. But if you open the log viewer with a large log on a very basic device, like an Android device, it will take a long time to load the log. So
yes.
maybe the add-on author can add a warning or something for the size. It says, "Are you sure?" It can be like a couple megabytes big sometimes.
Yeah. See, here we go. And so now, because I have all this gamepad stuff installed, I'm sure I'm getting crazy error messages about it. But yeah, so there's a log viewer all up and running. That's pretty cool.
And combine this with the ability in version 15, we added a key map. I think it's Control Option D. You can flip debugging on from wherever you are, and just kind of go bloop and.
Oh, with a key button? Oh, that's pretty cool too.
Mm-hmm. We added the ability to do a key button in a few versions back, but we never actually added a default mapping for it.
Huh.
Yeah. So you don't even have to go into the settings anymore unless you have to enable big time logging, in which case you're probably not casually looking at the log. You're probably shaking your fists and trying to figure something out. So
right. Yeah, that's me most of the time. The shaking my fist issue. Why can I not play Double Dragon? All right, so those are some cool add-ons. Let's because I want to cut it short. We have about 10 minutes left, so I think I was going to talk about Google Summer of Code this week, but I think let's skip that because we're about halfway through right now, and I think next week is when reviews are in for the first half. So we'll kind of after those come in, we'll kind of talk about how the first half of the year went. So far, it's looking really good. Everyone's kind of staying on track. One guy had to do a lot of classwork pretty late into the season, which is, I mean, that's what you deal with students. But overall, it's going really well, I think. But with that said, I think now that we're just about at the point where Kodi 15 Isengard is about to come out, I think it would be fun to talk about Kodi 16. What was the one that we were all talking about the other day? Oh, Jarvis. I think Jarvis would be a really cool name for it.
Yeah. I think it fits, especially with the whole Marvel thing being real big now, and the fact that they turned Jarvis from a butler to a computer. Yeah. It really helps us out too.
Yeah. And that's one of the, I mean, there's almost never any reason to do this, but the fact that you can turn on text to speech and have Kodi actually talk to you while you're interacting with it, it doesn't sound anything like Jarvis when you do that, but it's cool that you can. So it's a little bit more like a real person, like a really robot person. But anyway, I thought it would be fun to talk about upcoming features for Kodi 16 that we're excited about. So what do you have on your list?
I'm not sure what's going in there yet, but I do have some wish list kind of things I'm hoping that go in.
These are things that are currently in development that are
they haven't been
hopefully get done in time.
Yeah. One of them, Koying, who's our main Android developer right now, a lot of people know he's got his own fork of Kodi called SPMC, and it's basically like his experimental playground where you can add things and see what they do. And one of the things he's added in that version is the ability to press and hold a button on your remote and have that do a second action, which we support a little bit, like on certain platforms like OS X and iOS support that on the Apple TV remote. That's actually one of the things in that. But most things like Android, especially with all the various Android remotes coming out that have very few buttons, being able to press and hold to do a second button action is I mean, it's simple. It's not very exciting, but it's like, oh my gosh, this makes this remote 10 times more useful. So it's hopefully that gets in. And what's funny about it though is I asked him like, oh, so what's the holdup? And he's like, well, the kind of things you might not think about. And he's like, oh, you got to distinguish between a long press and just pressing something because you want to scroll through a list. So I'm like, oh, okay. So there's some little things like that, but we're hopefully, I don't know if we have a specific time frame we're aiming for 16, but I think I'm thinking we want to try to do it within the year. because we wanted to do multiple releases within a year.
Yeah. That's definitely what are we calling it? Rero? I don't know what even
rapid release, or it's like update, release often, release early, or I don't know.
Oh yeah, release
early to bed, early to rise.
Yeah. Yeah. So we're trying to do, from my understanding, it's release, then 2 betas, and then release again.
Yeah.
Basically, 2 alphas, then release again. So theoretically every 3 to 4 months. I think even this time around, because we found so many bugs very late in the beta process, it's been pushing, I think we're nearing 4 months at this point. Yeah. But that's sort of the goal. As long as we're not finding bugs, then that short period is what we want in. So the things I'm looking forward to are things that theoretically probably could have been pushed in already. We just haven't, I don't know, it just wasn't time because there were big things. The big 2 for me are the DirectX 11 update for Windows, which I don't think, I mean, from an actual user perspective, I don't think DirectX 11 does much. It just makes it less liable to break. But less liable to break is kind of awesome for Kodi, always a good goal.
And it's also it's going to help with future Windows support as well, which not too long ago was kind of in peril for a while. Yeah. Our Windows platform, so it's come a long way to being saved.
Yeah, that's true. And in theory, it might. I don't know if this is really true, but I'd love to see at some point more shaders getting involved in Kodi. Specifically, I'd love to get blur effects so we could more easily show things without needing to use a cloak. And that's really only possible once you get shader architecture working both on DirectX and on OpenGL. So updating to a recent DirectX is very useful for that. So that's one of the 2 things I want. The other thing is, so at this point, if you're using Kodi for Android or iOS, you have automatic, and Linux, you have automatic updates. It just, if you turn on auto update, it'll just update, or at least it'll say, do you want to update? And then it'll go through the process. The only platforms where that isn't the case is Windows and OS 10, the Mac's version. One of our developers, Memphis, has actually worked on something called Sparkle.
Yeah, the Sparkle framework.
Yeah, the Sparkle framework, which allows you to, it was originally developed for Macs, but it also works in Windows now. It lets you do the thing where you say, do you want to update this program? You say yes, and it goes through the update process. Yeah. But it does it for Mac and Windows. It looks like there's nothing preventing it from going into Windows 16. And if that's the case, then man, it would be cool if by the time Kodi 16's out, every platform can auto update. Yeah.
Because that's, people are kind of nervous about it, and they just don't know because they don't follow the blog updates, or they turn off the version check add-on or something about when we update. So it's kind of like, a bug fix will come out and someone comes around and goes, this isn't working. And we go, oh, we fixed that 2 months ago. Yeah. So now at the very least, we'll have a little more notification. And of course it's optional, because if you do have, sometimes there is situations where it's like, if you have a working setup, sometimes you don't want to, you don't want to mess it up or anything. But for a lot of people, especially if you're worried about, improving things, security, or just being less of a headache, then yeah, auto updates is typically a good thing.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of them. It's been an issue in my mind since the Windows port first happened. It was like I had a checklist of things I wanted them to do way back in 2009 when they were doing all that work for Windows. The first on the checklist was include an installer. You wouldn't believe how difficult it is to install something without an installer in Windows. But so I wanted that, and I wanted auto update. And so it's been about 6 years since that was on my checklist, and now that it's finally about to be checked off, that's pretty exciting for me. Yeah, I don't know.
That's kind of like having chapter windows in the GUI now. That was a big thing for me. That's coming in 15.
Yeah, it works, and it works really surprisingly well. I haven't tried it on the Raspberry Pi, but on all the Android stuff I have, it adds all those pictures really like shockingly quickly, which is really cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, I agree. That chapter thing was great. It seems like the only one I can remember from way back then that we still don't have support for is audiobook support, which I still don't really understand why we would want that in the first place. But you know, I guess people do, so I'm willing to go with it if somebody finally makes it happen.
Yeah, and that's something that's very possible for 16. I think one of our not part of the team anymore, but he's still a pretty central figure with the program. A guy named Spiff has prepared all the work for it, and I think it was like pretty much ready to go. So I think someone else was interested in doing the final adaptations and getting it into actual Kodi.
Yeah.
So hopefully.
Yeah, my understanding,
like Nate said, I'm not big in audiobooks, so it's one of those things where I'm like, oh, okay, but so many people keep asking about it. It'll be just nice just for them, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. It's from what I understand, he develops for Linux only, and then in order to get it into main Kodi, you have to make it so it works on all the other platforms. And I think that's the issue that's left, but I don't understand what exactly that means. We have to leave that up for some other developer to explain at some point.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that would be cool to get into. If that makes it into 16, all the better. Then I think virtually every checklist item from like 2009 will finally be off the checklist, which is pretty cool. Let's see what else. So that's all my upcoming features. Did you have anything else you want to talk about in that regard?
Geez, I can't remember. Oh, there's a GitHub tag on there. I'll say this. If you go on to GitHub and look at our repository, which is still named XBMC,
Whatever.
it's still XBMC Foundation, so I guess it works.
Yeah, there you go.
There are various things on there that you'll see that might not necessarily be in yet, but are kind of planned. And there should be an area for labels, and one says like J on it because we haven't actually figured out the code name for 16. And anything tagged with J are things that our guys have identified as potential version 16 additions. Some of them are just fixes, some of them are just a little under the hood stuff, but some of them are pretty cool, like series recording and PVR. We got some more stuff going on with that.
Yep, that looks pretty cool.
Yeah, and there's a bunch of stuff on there, so go on there. Just don't comment through GitHub. It's unless you're a developer, but use the forums if you're a user to comment on this stuff and kind of if you want to show your support. But not directly on GitHub, because it's kind of like going into the library and being like, I love this, and everyone's like, what are you doing?
That would be funny too, though. I wouldn't mind going to the library and yelling, I love books! Books are great!
Well, I think if you did that now in 2015, someone would be like, whatever, you're the only person in this library.
No, everyone would be like, shh, I'm using the internet.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Everyone comes in to use the internet.
Yeah, poor libraries. I really do still love them, but man, it's so much easier to use an ebook anymore.
Oh, yeah. They should combine them with like, I don't know, Starbucks. That's probably evil. Take all the public libraries and combine them with Starbucks.
So there's one last thing I think we should talk about, and then I need to pop off here. And that is, it's not actually something we have to talk about, but since we were talking about Alienware and they're working with us, I thought this would be another interesting and nifty point. If you're familiar with Twit TV, which is made by Leo Laporte, I'm not sure. He used to be the guy behind the old
Tech Talk.
Yeah, he did Tech
There's
Talk.
a whole bunch of them.
Yeah, he did a lot of stuff. The thing, my favorite thing that he did, though, he and that other guy who's rich and has brown hair, I forget his name. They introduced, no, not that one, younger. They introduced XBMP, I think, Xbox Media Player, way back in the day. They were the first group that really pointed out how cool it was. And I use that video every once in a while to show how old we are, because it's cool. It's a cool video. Anyway, he recently restarted Twit under his own brand, and he has his own channel and is doing all of his own stuff these days. And it's really cool stuff. And one of the niftiest things was somebody tweeted him the other day and said that because they changed their API and they're hosting their own stuff now, it made the Kodi add-on for their channel break. And he actually tweeted back and said, yeah, we love that add-on. Whoever the add-on developer is just needs to message us and we'll get the API worked out and we'll get it back on track. And that was really cool. It's really neat when those guys actually want their add-on featured in our software or in our product. So my understanding is right now, Diving Mule, who is I don't know his real name, but that's his forum name, who mostly kind of drifted away from add-on development, immediately reappeared and said, "Hey guys, I use this add-on a lot, so I'm definitely going to work on it." He did all the work necessary, and it's already in beta right now. I don't think it's been uploaded to the repo, but I think it should be any day now. So that's pretty exciting. And along those lines, just FYI, there's now a KordKutters add-on.
Oh.
Did you see that? I think that's fantastic. Somebody in the forum made an add-on for our own channel.
We didn't even pay him or bribe him.
No, we didn't. There was zero bribery, which makes me feel a little bad because we probably could have bribed him. I'm sure I had some hardware that I could give away or something. But he just made it, so that's pretty cool. Let me see. Oh, shoot, let me see if I can find it real quick because I want to give the guy credit. KordKutters. Yeah, I want to give the guy credit. So it's NN92 made it. It's a KordKutters add-on. I think that the logo he used we can't use because it's actual the Kodi logo, and we're trying not to use that with our stuff. But it's really cool. And along that note, right before we go offline, for those of you watching and made it this far, we are looking for a logo. So if you guys want to develop one for us, go to our forum where we're asking, go to the Kodi forum where we're asking for ideas, and feel free to submit a logo there. And whoever's we pick, we may give some hardware to, or a hearty handshake to, or if you're in Europe sometime in the future, maybe we'll give you a pat on the back. I don't know. Probably you won't get much, but if you do get it, know you'll be famous forever for having developed our logo. So thanks to you 18 viewers. And I think that's it. You got anything else, Ned?
No, but I think that's about all of it ever.
All of it ever.
We've covered everything. We finally got it all. That's right.
Bombshell, this is the last episode of KordKutters we're ever going to make.
Ever.
Okay, that was also hopefully a joke. But we'll see you all next week. And until then, have fun with Kodi. Try installing the Retroplayer build of Kodi and play around with that, and it will inevitably break because it's an alpha, but I'm very excited about it. Okay, I'll see you later, Ned.
Bye-bye.